All right. So
Yeah,
let's
it was a fantastic church.
Let's think about. Okay, so after Barksdale,
Barksdale was an emergency situation. I knew I was getting orders, but the base was dragging their feet. And so I kept checking with the base and checking with the base. And, hey, I've got orders, but I don't have any written orders authorized me to move. And so I went in and I got a hold of some young clerk one day, and he had two phones. He had one in his ear talking to the dispatcher out in San Francisco, and the other was talking to a moving company in downtown Shreveport. He says, we're going to get something done today. So we got the word from, he was on the phone, like I say, to this guy out in California, which is lining up where I'm supposed to be going.
Right.
This guy in town, by the time I got home, this moving company investigator, inventory man, was there at the house inventorying our furniture and making ready, and he said, we'll be out here 8 o'clock in the morning. Give us from, say, 4 o'clock in the afternoon to 8 o'clock in the morning to have everything in the house ready to go.
So what was the urgency? I mean,
well, I was supposed to be in Alaska. They were supposed to have 30 days leave, and they were already down to 22 or something like that. They were cutting me short. And that's why he says, this is an emergency. I'm going to get something done. You got a family. You're going to cut them short.
So
they cut me short.
So you were so how long were we in Barksdale?
I think it was 18 months too.
So then you went from Barksdale to Alaska?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is where Tim hadn't come along yet. Dave, Mike, Steve, Mom moved back to Charles Page, right there in Tulsa.
Right.
I think we're across the street from Mark Twain.
Yeah.
Or, no, I've left out when we lived further down.
Right across from Riley.
Oh, okay, that's right. I remember that one. That's right, because we had a little under the road path to get to the elementary school. So we lived there a year, and that's when you're in Alaska.
Yeah.
And then this is probably 1965.
I can't keep all the dates.
Well, I'm in I think kindergarten at Riley.
Yeah.
So you're probably mom started me early. So we're talking probably 66 or 60. Yeah. Probably 66. The fall. Mike and I are probably going to school at Riley. Dave is a baby. Tim hasn't come along yet, so we live there a year. You come back from Alaska.
Well, going to Alaska was another one of these mix-up in the military. I'm supposed to be going to Anchorage, Alaska for training. The mix-up in his hurry up getting my orders sent me to Fairbanks, Alaska, which is north, and sent my bag to Fairbanks. So now I got summer clothes on, and it's getting just about winter. I mean, it's not winter, but it's summer, but the temperature, it snowed up there, and I'm running around in shorts and getting chewed out for having the wrong uniforms on. So I can't help it. My uniforms are somewhere else.
So you were expecting to go to Anchorage.
And I got to Fairbanks.
And you got to Fairbanks.
And I had to stay there a couple of days before I could get a plane back down to Fairbanks to be where I was supposed to be.
Wait, now you're in Fairbanks. You arrive in Fairbanks.
Right.
You're trying to get down to Anchorage.
Right.
And then what happens?
Well, then I went down to Anchorage, and then I went to school for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Because Alaskan Airlines, everything had to be their standards. I mean, you can know the best things about diesels and jets and everything by somebody else, but you had to have certification by Alaska. So
now, what did your schooling have to do with Alaska Airlines?
Well, nothing to do with Alaskan Airlines, really.
Okay,
I just flew up.
Right, they were your mode of transportation.
Yeah, they flew me up to Fairbanks, see?
Right.
And then when I got to Fairbanks, then I had to go back down to Anchorage.
Okay, then you went to school.
Then you get back on another civilian plane.
Okay.
And they fly you up to Nome, Alaska.
Okay.
Now, Nome, Alaska is about 100 miles straight across from Nome, Alaska. The island is 100 miles straight due west of Nome, Alaska, right near the international date line.
Right.
Where we're at.
So you're in Nome/Anchorage for 18 months?
No, I was in Anchorage just a week and a half for school. Then we went to Nome, and I got up to Nome, and they had bad weather, and you fly out of C-47, Wien Airline, which is a rinky-dinky airline, out to our island. Well, had bad weather, so I stayed in this hotel a week. Now, see, I'm staying in Nome a week.
Yeah.
And run out of money. Well, going up, they'll give you credit. The hotel give me credit to eat. I'll go down the street, buy hamburgers and everything. But so I was running up a bill because they know that the military is going to pay me eventually, and that they'll get their money.
Now, why aren't you working? Oh, the bad weather. So you're
So I'm staying in a hotel.
because the weather's bad.
And this officer comes in and stays, I think, in the same room with me. And he is an officer that just left a site that had a fire. The kitchen burned up.
Right.
So the kitchen had to move from the kitchen area over to the motor pool and set up a new kitchen while they were rebuilding the kitchen.
Right.
And he was a fire fanatic. Oh God, he'd walk the halls at night. You know, he'd get up in the room at night when he's supposed to be sleeping. He's walking the halls, and when he's supposed to be working, he's sleeping because of this fire. So we had fire drills at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. He'd get up, ring, pull the bell, and man, he'd be down the hall, and you'd be running, and he'd chew you out for running, and you had to take your full Arctic gear, big old hat, big old coat, big old boots,
Yeah.
in case of fire, and you had to go outside, you had to be fully prepared for the cold.
Right.
So he'd just drive you nuts, man. He was a fanatic after that fire, and I just happened to get him for a roommate for a week at the hotel, and then when we got back out to the site, he was pulling this stuff all the time.
So how long were you in Nome?
A week.
How long were you in Alaska altogether?
Well, I was supposed to have been there a year, I think.
Okay. How long were you there?
Well, I don't know. It probably come close to the,
Okay.
to the assignment.
All right. So that's probably, let's see, 65, 66, somewhere in there. And then is Clinton Sherman next?
Yeah, but in the meantime, I come back from Alaska and got to Seattle, and then I think that's when I flew over to Chicago and met with Ella and them and Uncle Lee,
Right.
and we went to a Cubs game,
Right.
and then I flew back home.
Okay. And then
That don't sound right, really, because I don't think I was up there with you kids at home, was I? Well, I might have just spent a day or so in Chicago.
right. And then you came back, joined
Then
the
I
family,
came back,
and then
yeah.
we went to Clinton Sherman, right?
Yeah, and then we went to Clinton Sherman.
And how long were we there?
18 months again.
18 months. There we go. And of course, Tim is born there. I remember him coming home from the hospital, and and so you've got your 4 sons now. I think most of us know the story, but when on Tim's birthday, how did that unfold? What happened? You know, but the day Tim was born, how did that happen?
Gene got up at night and says, I think I'm going to the hospital. I said, I'll drive. She said, no, you stay home with the other 3.
So
she just got in the car and drove. It was about a mile to the
she
hospital.
told you to stay home.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you have it for the record.
So
Mom said, Bob, stay home.
Right, and she'll go to the hospital.
she
just went up there and they had a entrance to the hospital. What's this, a toll gate?
Yeah, it's a toll gate, but it looks like they want us to pay online, so they're going to probably take a picture of our license plate.
So, we...
Okay, so Mom takes herself, delivers the baby, brings the baby home.
Well, she called me the next morning. Doctor said you're going to call and say it was a girl.
Yes, another boy. Number 4.
Yeah. She was happy. She's good, healthy. That's all you matter.
Yeah, yeah. So Tim has joined the gang.
Yeah.
And so then we're in. So are we in? Are we in Clinton Sherman for 18 months?
Yeah, I think so.
By the way, that 18 months helps me reconcile why it felt like there were times I was joining a new class at school in the middle of the semester. That 18 months just has us not perpetually, but oftentimes in the middle of the school year, going to another school.
I went TDY to Okinawa for 6 months, right? We got back in December because I remember I served at Christmas with you. I brought you all in camouflage military uniforms I had made over there. Every one of you had a military uniform.
Yeah.
Come back in December, and I got my orders in January to go right back to Kadena. So I wrote the guy in Kadena. They're supposed to have a sponsor, so they call it. He's supposed to look out for my welfare. A new guy coming over here. I wrote him and said, hey, I just come back from 6 months TDY. Go down and put me in for base housing because my 6 months will count. He never did do it. That's why we wound up in that motel downtown.
Well, first the motel, then we were in that off-base housing.
Yeah.
Where I remember that. Okay, so then you were in Okinawa for 6 months that's when we moved. I think that's when we moved back. Sand Springs was later.
Yeah, no, you moved back to.
I think we were across the street from. Maybe we're across the street from Mark Twain School. I'm not sure, but anyway. But so you're apart from us for 6 months, and then we travel out to. We fly out to California, Travis, and then we fly over to Okinawa.
Right.
We stop in Hawaii for some gas, and we join you, right?
Yeah.
And was that when you were like disguising yourself at the airport? Tell us about that.
Well, I just thought I'd grow a beard and wear sunglasses.
Yeah.
And a goofy hat.
What kind of hat was it?
Jean, I said, she come by, she was looking for it. I said, you lost?
How'd she answer you?
Oh, she was frustrated.
Yeah, she's looking around for her husband, and there's no Bob Johnson. This is a bearded guy with a funny hat and glasses asking her if she's lost. That's good. So did you shave the beard off the next day?
Oh, yeah. That was just a gimmick.
It's a good gimmick. So then we join you, and then what years are we in Okinawa? Because it wasn't 18 months. Was it 3 years?
No. I think you were over there 4 years. I was over there 5.5. You might have been over 4.5. Because we were over there a long time.
Well, here's my recollection is, of course, when we returned from Okinawa, I started, let me think, 8th. Okay, so I was 6th. So I must have been, the last year I must have been in 5th grade. Because when we came back and went to Eglin, that's where I was in 6th grade. So I must have been in 5th, 4th, 3rd, and maybe 2nd grade. So anyway, all right, so we're in Okinawa 4+ years.
Well, I was there. See, I got there in 68, TDY, and we left in 73, I think.
Okay, so one of the longest.
That's close to 5 years.
Really the longest assignment.
Oh, yeah.
Right, you had.
Longest we've ever had.
Okay.
But that was during the war years, and they figured if you'd keep extending, see, they didn't have to move families, they didn't have to pay for moving, they didn't have to pay for plane tickets.
Right.
It was to the advantage of the military to let you stay as long as you wanted to. And you told me that one time you said you thought it was time for us to go home. All your friends had been leaving. All of your ball friends and everything were leaving, and you decided it's time for us to leave. And then I went in and put in for an assignment.
So yeah, Okinawa was a good time. Lots of memories, lots of sports, lots of family.
Yeah, everything. They had good swimming pool there, good youth program, good everything.
What do you? One of my recollections was you and Mike scuba diving. So share with us about that experience, your scuba diving years. Because you only scuba dived when you were in Okinawa. You never scuba dived anywhere else, right?
Well, no, I scuba dived after Okinawa, but Mike had went scuba diving. I thought that was the craziest thing in the world, spending money for this silliness.
Wait, now he went without you?
Oh yeah, he was before me. I don't know, a year or something.
How did that happen?
Well, he just decided he wanted to, and I had some money and said, go for it. So he went down, took his lessons and everything, and I don't know, he probably bought some used equipment, you know. They
Right.
had it at the thrift store there. You can buy used equipment, so
Right.
got all his equipment, and finally later on I decided to take it. I took it the last year we were there. I took it in January. Tried to float in the ocean in January and freeze your tail off, man.
Now, when you say you took it, you're talking about getting...
Certified.
Right. Okay.
You got to go out in the ocean. You got to float for 3 hours and all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
Took all that stuff. Got certified.
All right.
And during that 6 months or so before we left, I really enjoyed it because you could go every day of the week. We were right close by, and
wow.
some of the best diving in the world. The air and everything was reasonable. I mean, it didn't cost you an arm and a leg. So that was great.
Yeah. So any real interesting moments while you're scuba diving? Any life-threatening moments?
Well, one time I jumped in, forgot to turn the air on, and Mike was about 100 yards ahead of me. And by the time I got over there, I was gasping and signaling. I didn't have no air. He reached over and turned my air on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the dumbest thing I've ever done. If he hadn't been around, it could have been a catastrophe.
Yeah, that's a problem. All right.
You learn real quick.
Yeah, that probably
You got
happened one time.
A sequence of
Yeah,
turning on the air and making sure you can breathe before you jump in the water.
it's a good idea. Yep. Good. And so we leave Okinawa, and let me think here. So this is Eglin next, right?
Yeah, go to Eglin.
And we all left together, didn't we? In this case, you didn't have.
Well, this is.
Oh, wait a minute.
We were supposed to
Yeah.
go to New Mexico, and orders come down New Mexico, and they come up and ask me, said, it would it break your heart, or could you manage to go to Florida? I said, break my heart? You got to be kidding me. I said, whoopee. So they sent all our furniture and everything to New Mexico already.
Right.
See? So we had to wait on stuff for a while, but we eventually got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you can't. We'll take Florida anytime. Just
I remember Clovis, New Mexico. Right? Does that sound familiar?
Well, we might have drove through there, but we never were stationed in New Mexico.
Right. But I thought that was the.
That might be it. I don't know. I know it was in New Mexico somewhere.
Right. Well, anyway.
It didn't sound too good a base to me. Inland, nothing to do, you know.
Yeah.
Since you use scuba diving and things
Yeah.
like that, you know.
Yeah, sure. You're just coming off of Okinawa, and you don't want to be landlocked. So then we moved to Fort Walton Beach, and I know we live off base. I remember living in a trailer for a little while, and then we moved on base at Eglin, right? And I remember, I think it was Okaloosa Circle was our address, and so there. Let's see. I'm in 6th grade. I think David's in 5th grade. 4th grade, 5th grade. Anyway, he's right behind me, not
Weren't
too
you
far.
older than that? Because Mike was in high school.
Yeah.
Well, let's see, though.
Well, I was 4 years behind Mike.
That's right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in high school because he went out for the football team, and the coach said he couldn't play because he had long hair, so he turned his uniform in.
Yeah, said that. Well, I guess I'm not playing. Okay, so we lived there for 1 year. It wasn't 18 months, was it? Wasn't it? By the way, I don't know about these toll roads. We've got a whole bunch of toll roads here in Illinois. It's about every 2 miles you're paying this great state more toll. So we're gonna pass through this toll gate, and I'm sure they're gonna take a picture of our license plate.
How are they going to track the license plate down with a rental car?
I'm gonna have to talk to our friends at Avis and ask them about how that works.
Do.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're in Florida for a year. At least in my recollection, I didn't split schools. We were there 1 year, and then you go to Turkey, and so we go back to Tulsa, right?
Was it just 1 year? Should have been longer than that.
No, 1 year in school. I only went to 6th grade. I was at Oak Hill Middle or Elementary School, and
because Tyndall was only 9 months. That's
Well-
where we got out.
Yeah, so we were in Fort Walton Beach 1 year, Eglin. Then we go back and we live in Sand Springs, and you're in
Yeah,
Turkey.
at Sand Springs, right? We go to Turkey. Yeah, that's it.
You go to Turkey.
That was that fiasco.
What do you mean fiasco?
Well, that's when Michael was always getting tickets for leaving his car on the road, and
Right.
they had a curfew, but they didn't tell nobody, and followed him with his lights off, handcuffed him at time and everything.
Well, he's a pretty suspicious looking guy. Just kidding, Mike. Okay, so you're in Turkey a year. I don't think you're there 18 months because
Yeah,
I'm
no,
in
it's a year.
I'm in 7th grade. I go to, I think it's their middle or junior high school there, and then we go back to Florida. But this time 90 miles down the coast to
Yeah.
Tyndall, and that's where I have my 8th grade year of school. Right.
Yeah.
And we get into BMX bikes. I remember Dave
Yeah.
and Tim and I, and
Yeah.
we had a little place out behind our house that we would. And you were real supportive of that. Took us to some races, and we did that for a little while.
Yeah.
Any memories about Tyndall or Eglin that? I know we did a little bit of boating. We had our fancy aluminum boat where you had devised a kind of a ski device. Do you remember that? Special.
Well, that's we made that at board.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we just made that.
Well, my recollection was that we had a rope connected to the back of the boat,
Yeah.
and then you had drilled a hole in this board. It was like in the shape of it kind of had a rounded.
Yeah.
Oops, hang on. Let's make sure we don't miss our exit here. I think I did just miss our exit. Oh well, we'll figure this thing out. So you had this sort of semicircle on one side board. You had drilled a hole. We put the rope through, tied a knot, and then we had a second rope that you could stand on the board and kind of hold on to it to
Yeah.
stabilize yourself. And then, and I remember when we would fall off of the board, which invariably happens when you try to, ski on wakes and so forth, that board would dive to the bottom and it would end up floating to the top with a big old lump of dirt or sand on it. Once you slowed the boat down and the board stopped dragging the
Yeah.
bottom, it would float up, and then we'd have to clean all that
Yeah.
stuff off. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was just a makeshift, but I mean, hey, it was just something to get by with,
Yeah.
Have entertainment, pass.
Yeah, that was good.